Hi, I'm Doug Smith, the RHCC Manager for the Eastern Virginia Healthcare Coalition. This is our second video in a series on VHASS or Web EOC. In the first video, we showed you how to register an account, get logged in with your credentials, and update for a long-term care facility. In today's video, we're going to show you how to do a hospital status update in VHASS. We ask that you do this daily, and at a minimum, the twice-a-month communications tests. Now I'm going to log in. Okay, we've logged into the main site and we're at the home page. I'm going to show you how to navigate to the emergency operations screen. Click on emergency operations on the left, it's in red. And you've probably been asked to update your facility status. For a hospital, we're going to select the top button, the top bullet, daily diversion status update. Make sure your pop-up blockers are turned off. Okay, so this is the diversion status page. There are a lot more tools that we have to look at. The first thing we're going to do is select click to update status at the very top. Alright, you can see that the view changed and there are several tabs across the top. We're going to talk about each tab and the information that's contained there. The first tab here is the diversion status. So if your hospital has an emergency or they're closed, or something has happened, then they can change their diversion status if they can no longer receive patients. If you're not sure about the definition, just hover over the blue question mark for the definitions. You see here it's special diversion, full diversion, or disaster alert. Grab the pull-down menu and select your facility status. If you've updated your diversion status, just click the update button. So that's diversion. The next tab I want to talk about is the clinical tab. This is really the emergency department mass casualty numbers. So here at the top it says emergency department MCI capabilities, and you can see it's red, yellow, and green. These numbers are very important, especially in a disaster. So this particular hospital says they can take 5 red patients, 10 yellows, and 20 greens. You can change those numbers as patients arrive. The next segment is inpatient bed availability, and this is talking about the number of patients in the entire hospital, not just the emergency department. So we're looking at med-surg beds, critical care beds, psych, burn, etc. Update those numbers accordingly. It asks you questions about ECMO and special procedures. These are right here. And they're asking about ventilators here. When you're done updating your clinical status, click the Update tab. Those are the two most important functions that you need to know. We're going to talk about the other tabs as well. Okay, so I showed you the diversion tab and the clinical tab. Now we're going to go ahead and look at the other tabs, starting with blood availability. Blood availability is very important to know in a disaster. However, it changes daily, so we're only going to ask you to update when there's a need. Hospitals can enter the amount of red blood cells they have by blood type and the plasma levels as well. So once you've entered the numbers for your particular hospital, click Update. Someone in your lab will probably have to do this very frequently during a disaster. Okay, so this is the hospital status tab. There's a wealth of information on here, and it's going to take a minute to go over each data field. This is very important. The first one at the top is your diversion status. We've already discussed that. Here's your pull-down menu. So remember, when you're updating your diversion status, there's different kinds. There's open. There's special diversion. That means you've had a problem in your hospital, like a CAT scanner is broken, or the MRI, or something like that. You can't take a stroke or a STEMI patient. That's the reason you'd go on special divert. There's full divert. That indicates you cannot take patients from the field, whether you've had an internal disaster or you're just full from an influx. And then finally there's disaster alert. So that's your hospital status. Your clinical status is here. Now clinical status is really referring to your surge. In Virginia, level 1 surge means you're full to all your staffed beds. Level 2 surge indicates all your staffed and licensed beds, including your overflow areas, are being used. And level 3 surge is community surge, where patients would be at a hotel or other place in the community. We're going to go back here again and look at the emergency department, red, yellow, and green patients. Inpatient bed availability, as we discussed on the clinical tab. And down here are some more choices for you to fill in. Your decon capacity. Every hospital in Hampton Roads has the ability to decontaminate patients. So your decon capacity may be inactive, it's not being used. It's open and patients are moving through the facility. It's full, in other words, you can't take any more patients, or it's exceeded. And in that case, we would try to move patients to other facilities that had excess capacity. Morgue capacity is another important consideration. Many hospitals have limited bed availability in the morgue. Your morgue is either open, full, or exceeded. Hospital emergency operations status. They're asking if you've activated your emergency plan. So it's either inactive or it's active. If you have any comments, you can put those in the comment field to the right. This is very beneficial if you put a contact number there. Hospital ECC. This is they're asking, is your command center activated? And if it is, please put your hospital command center phone number and the point of contact in the comment box. The next tab is facility status. And this is asking about your whole hospital. Is it operating normally? Is it compromised due to a system failure or lack of resources? Is it evacuating or is it closed? This is all very important information. Security status. They want to know if your hospital has normal security status at this time or if it's elevated, which may include limited access for visitors, restricted access or lockdown, and finally quarantine. Staffing resources, adequate or insufficient are the two choices that you have. And basically they're asking you about your clinical status. Any other resource requests you might have, there's a data field here for you to fill out if you have any specialized requests. Facility operational supplies. This refers to diesel fuel, food, water, things like that. Things to keep the facility open. And the next tab is clinical supplies. So this refers to medications and other things to provide clinical care. Finally, there's some tabs on the bottom about your utility status, power, water, gas, and communications. Please indicate any problems that you may have and put the comments in the data field. Once you've filled all those data fields out, you have to click Update at the bottom. Okay, so we just covered the Hospital Status tab. Now we're going to take a look at the NDMS tab. Now NDMS stands for National Disaster Medical System. Every hospital in Hampton Roads is part of NDMS, and they signed an agreement to receive NDMS patients. So NDMS is part of the federal government, and because of that, they have slightly different definitions for each patient. They're asking for your NDMS patient capability or capacity, and here are the definitions according to the federal government. Critical care, med-surg, psychiatric, burn, and pediatric. When you enter your NDMS numbers, just click the Update Status tab. Now we're going to take a look at pandemic flu. In the past, pandemic flu has been a big issue in Virginia. So they're asking here about flu-occupied beds. And the state wants to find out how many flu patients there are in the event of a surge. So this is ICU beds, flu patients on a ventilator, flu admissions since the last update, and flu deaths. So these statistics are going to be very important to track at VDH. Make sure to update your status by hitting the Update tab. The last tab is the SITREP, Situation Report. They need to know your current ED census, how many patients are in the ED right now, number of patients in the waiting room, number of folks you're holding in the emergency department. In other words, there's no beds to admit. Average ED boarding time, how long are they holding? And your average ED wait time. For the whole hospital, they're asking about resource shortfalls again. Ventilators that are available. Number of patients who are currently being managed on ECMO and high frequency oscillation. They're asking here about visitation restrictions, mandatory masking, elective surgery cancellations, opening of closed or surge areas, cohorting patients, converting single rooms to double rooms, and other. So when you update the situation status report, that goes directly to the Virginia Department of Health. We've covered a lot of information today. Most of it's only needed in a disaster. Please remember to update your status daily. In our next video, we'll show you how to send an alert.